What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Text Lab. Todd,
you look like you're looking at the camera. There's no camera.
If you could just calm down for a second. After weeks of getting emails, phone calls, this one, we're turning off the camera. People, I don't know what they didn't want to see on the camera, Todd.
It's me. We're going to increase the listeners.
We're seeing if this will help.
You don't have to look at Todd. This thing will skyrocket.
This might be the best Text Lab recording we've ever had.
More people listening than ever before. Pretty positive.
We are having video technical difficulties, but we are still on the radio. Tell me about the good old days with AM/FM, Todd. Back in the 1900s.
Do you even know about AM/FM?
I was proud of you this week for learning about Google Drive.
I did learn about Google Drive.
It was not a feature in your car.
It did not take me 2 years. It was not. But I finally know what it does now.
Yeah.
Everybody talking about Google Drive, Google this, Google that. I'm like, they're all Google. What's the difference?
It's a big deal.
Why would they put the same name in front of them?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
We'll talk about what Netflix is next week. But
thank you.
This is a podcast about exegeting scripture in the Matthew series. Matthew 20, we are picking back up after a week off. Verses 17 through 28 is where we are at today. I always ask you if you have any preliminary thoughts, and you always say, let's just read the text. So I think we should just start there, and then we'll break it down.
Well, I'm like always, how about we get Jesus' thoughts first?
I think that's a great point. So let's pick this up in verse 17. Matthew writes this, "And as Jesus was going up to Jerusalem, he took the 12 disciples aside, and on the way he said to them, 'See, we are going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be delivered over to the chief priests and scribes, and they will condemn him to death and deliver him to the Gentiles, to be mocked and flogged and crucified. And he will be raised on the third day.' Then the mother of the sons of Zebedee came up to him with her sons, and kneeling before him, she asked him for something. And he said to her, 'What do you want?' She said to him, 'Say that these two sons of mine are to sit, one at your right hand and one at your left, in your kingdom.' Jesus answered, 'You do not know what the heck you are asking.'" I added that part. Yep. But he said, "You not know what you're asking." It's implied. "Are you able to drink the cup that I am able to drink?" They said to him, "We are able." He said to them, "You will drink my cup, but to sit at my right hand and at my left is not mine to grant, but it is for those for whom it has been prepared by my Father." And when the 10 heard it, they were indignant at the two brothers. But Jesus called to him and said, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great ones exercise authority over them. It shall not be among you, but whoever would be great among you must be your servant, and whoever would be first among you must be your slave. Even as the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." A lot here in this passage.
Great text.
I think this is a fascinating text. You have this section of verses 17 through 19 where Jesus is talking about his death. He's done this before a few times in Matthew. And really, though, throughout Matthew's gospel, now we are shifting to this passion narrative that is coming. Very quickly here in chapter 21, the triumphal entry is going to happen. And Jesus is talking about his death that is coming, telling them that he is going to go to the cross. And there's a contrast that Matthew seems to kind of stack these passages right next to each other, because as soon as Jesus is talking about going to the cross, you have the mother of the sons of Zebedee asking that her sons can sit at Jesus' left and right. What sticks out to you, just as we start to wrap our heads around this, the big idea? What sticks out to you about this passage?
Well, I think Matthew, inspired by God, what you've already alluded to, the juxtaposition, the connection of these two texts.
Yeah.
Where Jesus, more clearly than he has thus far, he's giving us more details about his death and his submission, right? The humility, the humiliation that's going to actually lead to his triumph. But it's set up here, and to some degree, I think, he's asking the disciples now to follow me and live this upside-down kingdom, right? The world has this way of promoting greatness and recognizing you as significant. Let me tell you, It's not through dying. It's not through giving up your life, right? Death is, again, how many times does somebody die and you say they lost their battle with cancer or whatever it was? And so that's not the way you're living. So you got Jesus living this upside down, this reversal of what's grace, and then he moves right into this clarifying because the disciples don't get it. Now, he hasn't died yet. He hasn't risen from the dead yet. So I don't expect them to be even empowered enough to be able to live out what Jesus is teaching them. But he's trying to give them a picture of, once you've experienced my upside down kingdom, you're going to live in a way that's upside down in the world in terms of what greatness is how it's understood and how it's experienced and how it's expressed.
Yeah, this seems like a snapshot in 17 through 19 that is a definition of what is this upside down kingdom that we've been talking about. What is the Sermon on the Mount's main point about being blessed when you're persecuted or when you're poor in spirit? What did these things mean? Blessed are those who mourn. Okay, this is a picture of this flipped upside down kingdom that Jesus is describing. And even Matthew very intentionally several times in 19 and 20 has talked about the first will be last, the last shall be first. And here again, there's this reference to it at the end of this section. But a definition of, okay, what does that mean to the first shall be last, the last shall be first? The cross is going to be the greatest sign of victory. That is how Jesus is going to accomplish salvation for us. That is how he will be raised to glory through this death. That is completely still, lacking understanding in the disciples' minds. They're still wrapping their heads. And not to blame them, like we've talked about before. They would have had no expectation for a Messiah that was going to do that. No category for a Messiah that was going to do that. But Jesus is telling them here, this is what this means. Matthew is painting that very clearly for us.
Yep, and you got it. And Jesus' death here, the center of it, an important point for Jesus, and I think Matthew is, again, nothing's happening here that Jesus doesn't know is coming. Yeah. He is willing. He is not a victim here. Yeah. He is not being overrun. He's not being controlled. He lays out pretty specifically, right? He's on his way to Jerusalem, as you noted. I think Matthew's trying to help us now see, as you said, moving towards the passion, and he's moving. But Jesus knows exactly what's going to be happening. Yeah. He's going to be betrayed. He's going to be brutalized. He's going to be mocked, and then he's going to be crucified, and then eventually he's going to rise from the dead. And these disciples, God bless them. Yeah. We love them. They encourage me when my OST doesn't go as fast as I would like it to. But again, he hasn't risen from the dead yet. He hadn't died. But man alive, he just talked about being killed. Yeah. And you want to talk about who's the greatest? Come on, come on, come on. I've been accused a few times of not being that sensitive. I mean, I want to keep pointing to these guys. I don't think I've missed the mark quite like these guys and their mother.
Yes. So let's unpack that a little bit. You've got the mother of the sons of Zebedee. I read an interesting commentary on this week where it was talking about how in the Mark description of this passage, the mother isn't mentioned, and Mark oftentimes is trying to point out who's responsible for what in his narrative, and he seems to say the sons of Zebedee are the ones that maybe put their mom up to this. Well, that was even what one commentator's take was on this. But either way, whether this is the mom overstepping, whether this is the son saying, hey, mom, why don't you go talk to Jesus for us? There's a great chance that this is Jesus' aunt. We don't know exactly who it is, but there's close relationship here. He comes up and Jesus says to her, what do you want? And she asks that they would sit one at Jesus' right hand, one at his left in the kingdom. These places of power, these places of authority is what that would have meant, Jesus left and right. And I love Jesus' response to her just in the narrative. You don't know what you're asking. And he talks about, are you able to drink this cup that I am able to drink? He is referring to this cup of the cross, carrying the burden and suffering that's going to be entangled in the cup. I think she's thinking about the gold cup of power, of authority that is in the kingdom. And it's interesting. There's maybe some parallels here with, on the left and the right, the imagery there of these two thieves that also die on the cross. That is the left and the right of Jesus.
And they're looking for the power. They're not looking to be next to him on the cross.
Yes, exactly. And the contrast there that Matthew is continuing to draw out.
That's good.
Hey, there you go. A little nugget. What else do you think is just the main point here, the big idea of the mother of the sons of Zebedee's request to Jesus in 20 through 28.
No, I think you nailed it, right? We've been looking at this passage, you got to be like a child. We've been looking at this forever. It's not about the greatest. We live in the world of the people with money and the people that get served. Yeah. The people who are there, and he's going to make the contrast with the Gentiles. But I think it's interesting, even the posture that I believe. So those that go, I think absolutely James and John are cool with what their mother's doing. Yeah. Right? They're there with her, and I love the posture. They're kneeling. I mean, I look at the contrast. They're kneeling. You know, some sort of expression of respect, right? of being beneath, they get it, right?
Yeah.
But they're not worshiping.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's this mix of posture, but it's like, okay, I'm kneeling before, but what in the heck are you going to do for my sons?
Yeah.
What are you going to do for me as the mother? Because I want to have this. And I think about the application for us too, where sometimes we can even, if the big idea is we serve others, but sometimes I think we can even serve to be seen. We can have this posture of, oh, we're doing this for Jesus.
Yeah.
But I'm afraid our motive might be, I know I still wrestle with it. I still preach. My last prayer every time before I preach is, Lord, make this more about your glory than mine.
Yeah.
41 years, every sermon as I walk out. Because I still want people to like me. I still want them to think it's insightful.
Yeah.
I still want them to occasionally think I'm funny, right? And so you got this first thing here, just the mixed posture almost, right?
Yeah.
I'm kneeling, but I'm actually wanting you to elevate me.
Yep.
I don't want to stay down here. I may want to stay under you, but I want to be elevated above everybody else.
Yep. And I think that posture is seen even in the response of the disciples, that they're indignant. I don't think they're thinking that what they did was wrong. I think they're thinking that they kind of beat them to the punch. I think there's a jealousy,
absolutely.
actually. They're like, oh, that's the spot that I want to be in.
And I probably would have gotten it if their mother hadn't asked for it.
Exactly. And you do see this contrast then with Jesus as he responds to them. He even says, you will drink my cup. I think he's talking about suffering that the sons of Zebedee will go through, the suffering that will happen in their lifetime.
In fact, James, I
Jesus.
think, man, this is where I'm old. I think Acts 12:2, I think James is the first apostle probably martyred, right?
Okay, yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I
I'll have to go
think.
cross-reference that.
Don't
Look that
quote
one
me
up
that.
on your own. But either way, they both suffer in their path of following Jesus, persecution that breaks out immediately against the church. And as they would be leaders in the church, they do carry a similar cup to the one that Jesus does. But it's not this one of power and authority and lording that type of power and authority over to people. And Jesus describes that there. He talks about, man, there are those that do that. The rulers of the Gentiles is a way that he's describing, I think, earthly kingdom, earthly rulers. But he's talking about living and walking and being first in the kingdom is not chasing after those things. It's truly being one that is serving others, that's laying down your life for one another. And that's what we see Jesus do on the cross. He comes, gives his life to serve.
They think they can drink the cup. I mean, this is clear evidence against they can't.
Yeah.
Not the cup that so we're continuing to get veiled. They're growing.
Yeah.
But they're still not there yet. So you've nailed it. And then the contrast again.
Yep.
When I think he's using Gentiles here, right? Pagans, those who haven't yet come to treasure Christ. Now remember when it originally happened, Jesus hadn't died or risen from the dead yet.
Yeah.
So I don't think they have the actual power. He's preparing them for what it should be like after he dies and after he rises from the dead. When you really come to see who I am, when you really are transformed, because now your sin has finally been paid for.
Yeah.
You're not going to have these same old priorities. You're not going to live like those who don't treasure God, those who don't treasure Christ, who live in a world where we've been talking about it here for the last few months. Your prestige is in people looking at you. Once you get the treasure of Jesus, rather than look at me and like these guys, make me great, God, it's look at Jesus. Look how fabulous he is. And our joy is not found in people making much of us.
Yeah.
Our actual deepest joy is found in making much of Jesus and helping people find that joy that we've found in him. And that's, again, not developed in this text, but it's developed in the book, right? And particularly in this text, again, because he hadn't died yet.
Yeah.
They haven't had this experience of genuine rebirth.
I love how you put that about making much of Jesus, how we live our life. Like, as I think about just what this looks like to apply this to our life and thinking about how do you go and carry and live this out, I think that's what this means, to make much of Jesus in your life. And the freedom that's in that, the joy that's actually in that. Tim Keller had this little book where he talked about the freedom of self-forgetfulness. And I think about, man, this is what the world is chasing after.
Great quote.
Of as much authority, as much power, as much wealth as possible. And that is an exhausting way to live your life. You're chasing something that you'll never have enough of ever in any of those categories. And Jesus offers a different way, a different path of man, there is a joy, there is a freedom in being one who gives up their life to serve and love others in the same manner that Jesus has showed us.
But I've grown up with texts like this again. So just get out and do it. Just serve people.
Yeah.
And again, just go do
Just
it.
go join a serve
do it.
team.
And again, what our encouragement always is get filled up with the joy and the grace of Jesus, right? That's the catalyst. That's where the energy, that's where the power really comes from, is being filled up with his love so that it will flow out of us, right? And it's not that we're not intentional. It's not that we're not thoughtful. But again, this isn't just go out and do it, to quote Nike, right?
Yep. And
it's about fill Jesus.
And that's the difference between, I think, living a life actually to love other people is something more than, I just went and tried to pay off my Jesus debt by checking a box by serving. That's not what this is chasing. This is talking about the goodness of an abundant life, joy-filled life in Jesus. And the joy that then comes from serving in many different ways, following, I would say, a posture and a rhythm of Jesus, of what he does.
And he used in that very last verse again, he uses Jesus as the model and what I would say as the empowerer of our ability to serve, right? Even as the Son of Man. I want you to do this as the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve. He's our model.
Yeah.
And to give his life as a ransom for many. There's the empowering. Having experienced his having paid the ransom for us, right?
Yeah.
Our debt was paid. All we want to do is live in a way that points people to him so that they can have that same experience.
Yes.
And that's our motive for serving others.
Let's go. Love it.
You are too good.
Too good. Thanks for being back here, Todd.
Our ratings are going to be up.
Ratings will be up this week. No video. We'll see how it goes for next time around. Listener, thanks for joining us on the Text Lab. We'll catch you next week.